You mind if I go on a rant real quick?
No, no, no. I have a rant too. So let's trade rants.
Yeah,
You go
let's
first. All right.
here on the Radio Wasteland Rant Exchange. Okay, so I was on Facebook the other day, much to my great shame, but I was looking at our messages for this show and I happened to accidentally be exposed to my Facebook feed. And anyway, I saw like this recommended post, not from a group I follow, that's basically like a page that just does cringe posts from around the internet, which is
Uh,
not my thing, but I happened to see it. And basically, the cringe post was this guy talking about their financial hardships because apparently they went like deep in debt to become a philosophy major. And they,
as you do.
right, yeah. And they were saying that even though they're basically like one of the top scholars in their field, they can't get a job in their field that like pays the bills at all. So they're working all these dead end jobs and they're unhappy with how the situation shook out. And predictably, all the comments are saying one of two things. This guy made bad personal choices. True. Philosophy is useless. Not true. But I think both of those comments hugely like missed the point. Like I feel for this guy because you don't make the debt decision for college when you're an adult. You get press ganged into it when you're like 16. And
Oh, yeah.
also
What do these
it,
people not have kids? Don't they
right.
understand regret?
Yeah, no, it's like, well, it seems like this guy has a bad attitude about not working in philosophy. It's like, if he's one of the top scholars in his field, then he should be working in philosophy. And actually, it sucks that there aren't jobs available to him because that mean like we should have scholars. We should have people who know stuff about stuff.
Yeah.
Like this this guy being upset that there are no jobs for something that is very important but just isn't funded is, I think, entirely justifiable. It and yet the general public seem to very much miss the point of that.
Well, I kind of feel like if he was that good of a philosopher, he could just change his bad attitude.
I mean, yeah, that's quite possible. And look,
Now,
I
my
mean,
my real feeling on this is I think it's the same feeling that I get when I hear people complain about like spending money on space,
right.
or spending money on any of the arts or any of the things that makes us better.
Yeah. And oftentimes I really feel like when I see people commenting on this stuff, they're coming at it just totally from this perspective of it is impossible to change society. You can only make choices that like make your own life better. So this guy made bad personal decisions. Let's laugh at him. Ha ha.
Hmm.
When it's like, no, he was not posting this to complain. He was posting it to be like, there's no money in research and that's bad. And that seems to have just like flown. They don't even consider that there could be like societal issues. It's just like someone treats you in a racist way. Well, you need to buck up and go somewhere where people aren't racist.
Right,
It's
right.
someone runs over your dog. Well, you shouldn't have let your dog outside. It's that is always the mindset that I see people taking to these comments. And it's like sometimes the thing you're reading is not about the thing you're reading. And I
Right.
don't
So
I
I,
don't
I
know
think
how
I agree
people
with you.
don't know that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that the issue that I would take from the article is that we don't have any jobs for philosophy, and we probably need to have a place for these people to go. It's like history.
Yeah,
History is a prime example. We need historians, but what are we going to do with them? You know,
right.
what are
Yeah,
we going to do with these historians? We got to put them to work in schools and stuff like that because, frankly, when it comes to money, they're pretty worthless.
right.
But not everything's about money.
Exactly. And people don't get that. People
Right.
are like, I feel like a lot of this ties in kind of, but I feel like a lot of that sort of anti-science stuff we see is not people thinking they're being anti-science. Because people, slight tangent, years ago I saw this poll online, and it just on some website, it was like an ad, and it basically said, who's your favorite scientist? And there were a bunch of options. It was like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, like Elon Musk. And of the people on the list, the only one of them who was a scientist, who works as a scientist, was the girl who discovered that, who like compiled the picture of the black hole, which was big in the news at the time. Everyone else on the list was an engineer, a businessman, or a pundit. Like, people love science when it's building rockets, but like, that's not science. All the physical theories that are used to do that were discovered years and like decades ago, in some cases centuries ago, by eggheads you would probably scoff at for wasting their time for doing useless stuff. Like, that's just engineering. That's applying the stuff we know, which is also very valuable, obviously. But another prime example.
We need the translators, because
exactly.
those of us that are, worrying about digging ditches and the non-science stuff in this world, people like me, I need an interpreter.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, I think it's not even just about interpreting. It's about, like, for instance, the technology behind the internet, right, was created in 2 universities by some random academics in the 60s. And it wasn't until, decades later that it...
Al Gore? Was his name Al Gore?
It was not Al Gore. I don't even know their names, which is kind of the point. Like, they never got rich off it, certainly, even though it's like, that was the discovery that basically underpins our modern world. But, people look at guys like that and they're like, pointy-headed eggheads doing random stuff. Like, at the time, it was just a novelty. 2 computers talk to each other on the other sides of the country. I'm sure there were people who were like, couldn't they be doing something more useful?
Right.
And now it's like it's changed our entire world.
Absolutely.
And the people who got rich off of it are not the people who discovered it. They're the people who figured out how to, like, market it and make it consumable, which, again, just as important. But we applaud those guys and we shower them with wealth. And the science guys, they can't get jobs. They can't support themselves.
There are understandable concerns here. All right. So I'll play devil's advocate. And that is,
please do,
that, we definitely need a world of dreamers. I mean, but a world with too many dreamers means nobody gets to eat. So the fear, a lot of the time, I think there's 2 fears here. There's the civic fear and the personal fear. The personal fear is one of those, oh, you think you're better than me kind of things.
Right.
Which, I don't think goes on quite as often as we like to think, but it's a much more humorous fear than the other one. The civic fear is that, how will the system continue without people actually doing the work? Sure, it's great having people gilding the edges of the machine, but we don't actually need the gilded edges to make the machine work. We need those to make the machine better. And right now the machine isn't working. But arguably it's never really worked. It's always a work in progress,
See, this is the thing I'm talking about, though, because I think people see scientists as gilding the edges, but that is fully not what they're doing. They're designing the next machine. Like,
right, but at the time when this guy was putting together this novelty, he wasn't thinking, I'm going to change the world and soon people will be able to play massive multiplayer online games together.
No, maybe
Parents
not.
will never have to see their children again.
I mean, the way science works is that, like, 99% of, you do 999, you do 1,000 studies, 999 of them are going to just confirm what you already knew and be useless. And then you get one study that shows something weird, and then that's the study that is useful to some degree, possibly a world-changing degree. And there's no way around that. You can't train better scientists and get better results. It's a lottery that you need a certain amount of brilliance to enter, but after that, it's just like discovering the truths of the universe, which it's up to the universe if it cooperates, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. I think we need more scientists playing the lottery so we advance faster.
Oh, I agree. But I mean, I think that there's a lot of issues in this world that, an example, I have a hard time with this one because, it starts to sound like socialism, which in some areas isn't bad. And don't jump on me just yet.
I
see the look in your eye.
The mad gleam.
But like recently with the vaccine,
Yeah.
they're just all, oh, when they were going to recoup their money, it's like, no, the governments of the world need to get together and be all, here's $10 billion. Shut up. We're taking your vaccine. We're putting this thing together and we're going to provide it to anybody who wants it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but even in this world affecting situation, we couldn't do that. We spent 10 billion trying to get people to take it and another 10 million paying them, but we didn't just do it. Something that we know. And for you listeners, this isn't just do it, force it on the elderly or whatever, hold them down and make them take it. This is, we did it and we provided it to people. Take it if you want to. Why didn't we do that?
Well, I mean, I think we kind of did do that. Like anyone who wants the vaccine can get it if they're in the US.
Those companies are recouping their money. We can't. Those companies are producing the vaccine, and it is still their product.
I see what you mean. No, yeah, and that's the kind of thing. I think scientific discovery, even though that's not quite the same thing I'm talking about, because that again is still very much like applied science, whereas I'm talking about more like just basic research stuff. But like, it's often
my
hard
point is
fund.
You should be behind those sorts of things. The government, not the government, society should be a forerunner in sciences and arts and all the things that make us something better. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you said what I was going to say, basically.
Now it's
also it's just like it's hard to privatize discovery because if you are a huge oil company and you give some researcher like $1 million or whatever to like research oil or whatever, you can't necessarily trust what they're going to tell you because it's going to be profit motivated by like what will get me the next grant. It has, and even if it is not profit motivated, like the best you can do is use their results as propaganda. If they discover anything useful, it won't be useful for 20 years. And it might not be useful to you.
Science to recoup money.
Yeah.
And what did you say? Something a discovery? You can't profit off a discovery, or you can't.
Well, I'm just saying because it's impossible to know what avenues of research are going to yield world-changing discoveries. Like you can't like be the investor who got on the ground floor at the university level. You can't. There's no way to get like private investment into money into science until much later.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it very well, but that's kind of what I was saying.
Right.
The vaccine is like, imagine if the people who discovered the mRNA treatment decided to not let anybody know about their secret sauce, and then it couldn't be applied over here to somebody else who learned from their papers, their discoveries.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Science is supposed to be like open by design, which is the exact opposite of how it works in the business world. So I don't know. That's my rant. My rant is that people, it's not even that I think people hate science. It's that I think they literally don't even recognize what science is when they're seeing it.
Coming soon from AIP Home Video. John Saxon, star of Death House and Nightmare on Elm Street, stars in Hellmaster,